Okay, so in this final section on encouraging colleagues to use supervision, let's look at actually using supervision then. I like this picture showing the two people there with sort of jigsaw coming together in the head, and it feels to me like it's very much a sort of two-way process. And it's such a satisfying experience, I think, for both parties when that jigsaw finally slips into place. So it's a nice cartoon, that. Okay, so Driscoll talks about 6 baseline skills for the supervisee in obtaining effective supervision. Okay, and he talks about really the supervisee taking a bit of control here, making the session work for them. Identifying in advance pertinent stories and issues to disclose in the session. Beginning to notice yourself in clinical practice. So then as you begin to use the supervision, then you begin to, as you're working in the practice, kind of notice, oh yes, I might take that to supervision, I might take this to supervision. That you need to be prepared to receive feedback on the clinical performance. Now, that slightly makes supervision sound a bit like performance management, which, I always feel dodgy about. But on practice, I'd say practice rather than performance would be my preferred word there. And in a way, it's always helpful if the supervisee themselves invites that feedback and takes a bit of control of that as well. Write as well as talk about practice stories. So again, the value of writing in relation to supervision and self-supervision, and I'll talk about that a little bit as well, a little bit more. And adopting a proactive approach. So after you've been using supervision for a while, you'll begin to sort of take control of the process and begin to even be proactive about not just, sort of searching the last minute for something to bring, what am I going to bring, but more like, oh yes, and maybe I'm going to try this and take that theme into supervision so that you're actually now 1 foot ahead of the game rather than being slightly on the back foot. So prepare for the supervision. Van Ooyen recommends keeping a reflective diary, just jotting down thoughts, feelings, preoccupations. In one sense, I might add, you don't have to be as formal as that. You could just keep a little hardback book. I've got one such example here, a little hardback book where you can see that it's quite well worn, and that keeps my notes in for various things, practice-related items, that I can then open that book and locate a session or have a read of it and think, what am I going to bring to supervisor for my next session? So these will all provide sort of food for how you want to use your session. And as always, it's very helpful to think about a theme as well, to be specific about what happened. And then as supervisors, if we want to continue to sort of encourage colleagues really to use supervision, we can invite them to give them some questions to think about. So other than the usual, checking in with how people are at work, is looking at their interests. What things do they find difficult? Taking a genuine proactive approach to their own staff development. What would they like to learn? Again, Else Van Ooyen's book on clinical supervision made easy, she says, imagine that you're a house for sale. What would the things be that people would be attracted to in relation to your house? And what are the things that need a bit of redecoration, or even, total revising kind of thing? So I like that as an image, and that immediately would bring up several things in my mind, several ideas about what I can be developing and improving. And another sort of self-awareness, self-development questions, again drawing from Van Ooyen, thinking about your own profession, whether it's nursing, occupational therapy, psychotherapy, group analysis. What's your definition of your profession? What kind of a professional do you think you are? And if colleagues were invited to describe you, what do you think they might say? You could actually go and ask a couple of colleagues to say that, rather than just assuming you know what they're going to say. Obviously start with the colleagues that know you well. What would patients say? And what would you like people to say? So again, that's the idea of what would you like them to, how close is what they're saying to your ideal. Then there's the idea of strengths-based supervision. Often people think supervision's out to get me and expose my weaknesses, and I'm going to feel embarrassed and not very good at the end. When actually we can take a strengths-based approach, and I always think that building on one's strengths in relation to staff development is a really excellent way to go forward, because often building on your strengths you'll move quite quickly, whereas if you try and address your weaknesses, that can take much longer. For example, I've never been much of a writer, not very good at expressing myself and writing, very long-winded. And working on my writing and improving my writing has taken me years and years, and it's still not that good. It's better than it was, and I'm less long-winded. It's not actually that great. However, most of my life I have spent developing my strengths as a teacher and facilitator, where I have strengths, and building on those has helped me move quite quickly into the areas that I enjoy working in and like working in, because it's come easily, and I just build and build and build on it. So, strengths-based. What would other people say about your abilities? What do others notice about you? What do you bring? So really thinking about your strengths and talents. I have got another exercise, a short exercise on your kind of talents and inspirations, and I'd recommend you also looked at that to really bring out what you bring to your profession, become more aware of that, prouder of it, and looking for ways to build on that. Now, finally, I'm going to move into the idea of sort of reflective writing in a little bit more detail, because when we think about supervision, it's coming from the internal to the external, isn't it? The first thing that we notice is, as we're going about our business, there's something that's preoccupying us. Now, sometimes an informal chat with a colleague will do the trick, and there's nothing more that we need to do. But other times it might be on our mind, and it might be a while before we're seeing our supervisor. For me, what I quite like to do there is to write something down. So you could think of an exercise for yourself there. Think of an area that you feel preoccupied with at the moment, something that you don't seem to be able to quite put to bed on your own. Getting in touch with yourself and how you feel in private on your own. Nobody's going to see what you're writing. Nobody need ever know. So you are your own confidant here. Have a pen and paper to hand and just write spontaneously for a few minutes, not for very long, but just keep writing about this situation that's preoccupying you. And you can stop the tape and just do that exercise, scribble it down on a piece of paper somewhere that you will get rid of later, and then read it again. Once you've done that and the urge has left you, read back over it. What does it make you think about? You probably want to jot a couple of things down. You might have some further thoughts. You might think, it makes me want to do this. It makes me want to ring so-and-so. So it might make you want to go into action, or it just might make you think a bit more deeply about something. So you might want to jot that down. And you might also think, now that I've written it down, I don't actually need to do anything more. I've just got a sense of where it is, and I know that doing a couple of things will resolve this for me. Or you may want to take it forward for supervision. Sometimes writing the thing down might actually make you realise, oh yes, I really do need to take this to supervision. That is something that I'd like to talk about with somebody to get more of a view on that. So that the mere process, as it were, of writing helps you to reflect. Just writing something down without any intention of reflecting, but it's going to make you reflect. So the benefits of keeping a reflective journal, or as I say, even if it's on a scrappy bit of paper, you know, not as posh as a journal, is it's completely private. It's never going to answer you back. You just get it down, but it gives you a chance to communicate with yourself, and it gives you a chance to just think a little bit more. That process of writing down will make you do another iteration of the issue, make you go round it about it again, and that will make you think further and probably do justice to the issue and help you to know whether, do I now need to go and seek help about it? Do I need to discuss it somewhere? It's been on my mind, it's been preying on my mind, or has this process of writing down actually resolved it on its own? I mean, usually what I find is it's a bit of both, that I do need to write it down and I need to talk about it, because if it's preoccupying me enough, then usually it means I do actually have to take it somewhere. But writing it down can be extremely helpful, because then you've got it on a piece of paper, you can draw out the themes and take those to supervision. If you do keep it in a nice posh little journal too, then actually you've got a little record there of your learning and development, and that might be quite interesting to look back on in 6 months' time, or when you might have to do some sort of revalidation process. That's going to be a little resource for you. So that's not to be sniffed at either. So that concludes the voting for Baden-Baden and the presentation on encouraging colleagues to use supervision. So I hope that's been helpful, and thank you very much.